Hi there, welcome. For those people who already know about what I'm going to show you, please skip forward and go and check the moulds out that I'm casting. They're gone? Right, okay. This is for the people that, if you're going to dabble into casting, just a few of the items that you actually need to actually get yourself started. The first thing I'll start with, the most important, is casting powder. Should put that one there. The first one is a Herculite 2. Now this is a good all-round casting powder. It will do all of your moulds. But saying that, I do use two casting powders, and this is the Crystallite R. This is a porcelain finish plaster, which is extremely hard. I use this for the more delicate pieces like tiles, slates, little things like that. So they're both good quality casting powders. I will put a link in the description where you can actually get these from. You can actually get these off eBay, but other countries, I don't know which country you're in, you might have to find an equivalent to it. Right, that is the main thing. That's the most important. I'll stress that now, is to get a good quality casting plaster to cast in rubber silicone moulds. Plaster of Paris is no good. Don't even think about it. Or decoration filler or anything like that. You will not get good results. Right, moving along. What we have is a set of digital scales. The set of digital scales is for measuring weight-wise your casting powder. All casting powders will come to either a 2-to-1 ratio or a 3-to-1 ratio, which is 1 milliliter of water to 2 grams of casting powder. So you need a set of scales to measure that out accurately. The next thing, well, I'll move these things in because I think a lot of them are out of shot. A spoon, well, the spoon's for dishing up your powder. Nothing too technical about that. There isn't nothing too technical. You need a paintbrush, that is for mixing your plaster, and also for painting pigments or paints into your moulds. That's basic thing. A basic scraper, any shape or size. This is for cleaning off the tops of your moulds. We move along. Mixing containers. These can be yogurt pots, they can be anything you like as long as you can mix them. We also have a disposable syringe. This is a 10mm syringe. You'll find that most of the moulds you won't go over 12mm. Actually, it goes up to 12mm, this one does. They're very cheap to get hold of, and you will get an accurate mix by using something like this. Next to it, we have a piece of plastic. This is to actually put your moulds on. If I bring a mould down, the moulds are quite flexible and soft. This is just so when you cast, you can cast into your mould and you can actually move it away, put it somewhere safe to dry, because if you pick it up, as you can see, you're going to end up breaking your parts, damaging them, and things like that. Put that mould back in its place. Now, another thing that you need is a plastic container and some rinse aid. Now, the rinse aid is for soaking your moulds in before you cast in them. You will do a small amount into their water, put your mould into it and soak it, then partially dry it off before you start casting. The rinse aid helps release, well, it breaks the water tension in the plaster and helps release the air bubbles from the face of the mould, so you do get decent parts. Now, colours. I've already done, there's 2 videos out, one on pigments, which is, I use the Vallejo pigments, and there's also one out on paints. I use the Vallejo paints. It's just that that's what I had to hand. There's 2 videos out. The choice is yours on what colours and how you do it. If you're going to do a lot of casting, I would recommend pigments. If it's going to be little bits and pieces and you don't want to buy pigments and you've got paints in your box, you can use paints quite easily and just as good as pigments. So that is your colouring. We move on now. I have a small vibrating table which I made myself. There is a video out how to actually make this particular vibrating table. Tells you all the parts that you need, how to do it, everything. If you don't want to build a vibrating table, you can actually get away with using a piece of plastic and getting a piece of foam rubber or sponge, placing it on, tapping it with your finger. That will do just as well. Failing that, you can actually use a compressor. Start your compressor up on your board and just gently lay it on top of the compressor. The vibrations will do exactly the same job as well. So there's 3 options there if you require for a vibrating table. Moving on, the final thing, and I will stress this because this has caused quite a few marital breakups, is, I'll just move the camera slightly, is a container to wash up in. You need a container to wash up in for the simple reason is when you mix the plaster with the water's only a medium to hold the plaster, and the plaster will sink and harden underwater. So if you wash your cups up, your moulds, that will go down the drain and it will block your sink up straight away. So if you get yourself a largest container that you can actually put stuff, wash stuff up and get it cleaned up. So that's it. So next up is how to cast the moulds. Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to be casting courses of bricks in Flemish bond, which is this mould here. I'm already casting in this one because these are parts for my road to the Rhine. So I thought I'd just run through how I actually cast them. To start off with, we'll go straight into the rinse aid. Leave that to soak for a little while. Excuse me. Next thing, mixing. This is a 2-to-1 ratio, and I already know the measurements for this as I've cast it quite a few times. This is going to be 8 mils of water and 16 grams of casting powder. I'm using the Herculite for this one. I'm not using the Crystal R. This is a good round casting powder. 16 grams of that one. And I will state this again, I say it every time, be as accurate as you can with your measurements, as it will improve the pour flow. Right, straight into there and let that do its business. And while that is soaking the water up, we'll get the mould out. And as normal, just dry off, tap, and straight onto your plastic board. Right, that's ready now. So I'm going to be using, well, normally I paint pigment straight into the mould, but I found that it's only the top and the bottom of the actual bricks that are actually getting coloured, not the actual face, because these are, the faces are on the edge here. So the way I'm going to be doing it now is I'm going to be trying to colour the actual mix down, and I found this brown iron oxide, which is quite a deep, well, deepy reddy brown. So hopefully this will actually do what I want it to do. Back up there. Right, we haven't got the table on. Switch that on. A bit more light as well. And we'll get it forward. And that's that bit done. Excuse me while I do my washing up. And I will say as well, if this is the first time into one of these videos, don't forget, make sure you have a container to wash your pots up in, as you will block your drain up if you do this in a sink. Just level that off, let some of the water off. Still a few air bubbles coming up there. I think you can see it vibrating over the top there. Right, to me that's done. Right, I shall be back in a few minutes and we'll skim the top off and go on to the next bit. Okay, it's been a few minutes, so all I'm going to use is a flat spatula, and we're just going to take the excess off the top, like so. This will just save you a lot of mucking about later on with flash and things like that. So there we go. That's as simple as that. And now this will go up onto the rack and be left for about, what, 3/4 of an hour to dry. So I shall be back shortly and we'll have a look and see what we've got. Okay, these are the brick courses in Flemish bond. I'll just be careful as I take it off of here. And hopefully I won't break these. These do break extremely easily. It's because of the joints in it. You do have to sort of do take your time getting them out. Oh, you see, they just snap like that. Mind you, these haven't been in there that long. So, but they do always snap, if I can show you, on the actual joint. So they can actually go back together again, no problem, if you're using them. Just a little bit of glue in between and they will stick together. So I'll put them into there and see if we can get the rest of these out without breaking them. Yeah, you see. I think I might be better just rolling them. Yep, there's a complete one. Another complete one. Yeah, the best way is to roll them. And I've already broke 2 there. But like I say, I broke that one into so many different bits. Broken that into quite a few bits. But I'll still put that in the box because they can be used. So that's your full strip. I think the light's rather bad on here. Open the door, see if that makes any difference. But that's the full strip. And I'm making these for the arches for the road to the Rhine. So that's the brick course in Flemish bond. And just like to thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the next one.